When you're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics, there's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Let's get back to strolling instead of scrolling. Before we can safely come together, we need the facts on COVID-19 vaccines. Visit getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision for yourself and for your fam.
Some carriers will give you just one measly entertainment subscription. One is no fun. With Verizon, there's up to 7 entertainment subscriptions with your unlimited plan. That's 7 times the... 7 times the... No. 7 times the... Music, gaming, Disney+, Hulu, ESPN+, and more. That's 7 times the entertainment! Because everyone deserves better. And with plans starting at just $35, better costs less than you think.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
At Tyson, we know taste is local. Some like their beef pit smoked, their chicken spiced all the way up, or their pork sweet and saucy. Local flavors, global impact. That's what feeding the world is all about.
This is the BCSN Pod Zone, your place for the news, views, and conversations about all things related to HBCU athletics. Here are the BCSN Sports Wrap, Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, Knights of the Round Table, the pregame show, the Carlos Brown Show, the ONG Strike Zone, and more in one place. We are changing the way you consume HBCU sports, one broadcast at a time.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill's Inside the HBC Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is again back off of assignment. He's in the studio. Oh, look at that. Charles, let's welcome the band back. Welcome to episode 365 Inside the HBC Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports. For institutions large and small, from NAIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. We call it HBCU sports pedagogy, I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, Ralph Cooper, multi-Hall of Fame, I should say, in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. Got a big show in store with a lot of information for you. Today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency, LLC. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. With that being said, would be remiss if I didn't say for all those that acknowledge, celebrate, or some way get in trouble about Valentine's Day. I want to wish you happy Valentine's Day. Make sure you do what you need to do. We don't want any problem. With that being said, Mike, how are you doing?
Hola, boa tarde. Vamos a que Teresa. That's Portuguese. I've been in Brazil, folks. So that's basically hello, good afternoon, and let's get down to some business.
Mic drop. That's mic drop.
Why you got to show out like that, man? Really? That's what you gonna do today? I got all this. And he go, man, Charles, your turn. I'm not following. I refuse to follow that. That's on you.
Mike come through with the mic drop coming through the Portuguese.
I picked up a brother can't pick up a little Portuguese.
And you did a little. You say hello, good night, good afternoon, good day, happy Valentine's. You said it all. How you doing, Charles?
Doing well, though. Doing well. Well, we tell you what, we're right up on it with some the crack of the bats this weekend. So looking forward to a little HBCU baseball. Baseball season gets underway.
Yeah, tune in. We certainly will be out there covering and following it. We might see if sneak in a radio streaming show for you all. So stay with us. We'll make sure we get the information out. See if we can bring you some live content. My understanding, obviously, big events, a lot of things surrounded it. We'll talk about some of those key things. Big announcement associated with Texas Southern University. My understanding that may be announced at the event or two. So we certainly will keep you abreast of that. With that being said, I'd be remiss. Check this out, Charles. Tougaloo College Bulldogs are your 2023 Gulf Coast Athletic Conference regular season men's basketball champions. For the first time in school history, the Bulldogs have captured back-to-back regular season championships. The Bulldogs will enter the GCAC tournament as the #1 seed. Congratulations. Obviously, I told everybody a couple of weeks ago, I've had them jump over Langston. Langston had a tough couple of weeks as their #1 rankings. We'll find out about that this week. We'll release those on Thursdays for everybody. Today, we'll do major division, mid-major division. We'll see if there's a change on the major division side. Maryland East Shore had a tough weekend. They got taken down twice, not just one.
Wow.
We came and told everybody to keep up with it and said, hey, this would be one to follow over in the MEAC in terms of what's going on there. So we'll see what that does in terms of shaking up the top 5. But as we like to do, we'll get in there and talk a little bit about the news of the day. We'll bring that to you a little bit. Those are some of the updates I wanted to see. Before we take this first break and get into it, we'll come back and do some poll rankings, things of that nature. I did want to share a little bit of North Carolina Central head coach LaVelle Wooten passes Hall of Famer from HBCUGameDay.com. Great stuff out of here when you talk about North Carolina. In general, many of us understand the basketball prowess of that state. That's on many levels and obviously includes HBCUs. Monday night, Coach Mouton picked up 240th career victory in that gym as North Carolina Central University dominated Coppin State 85-52 to surpass the legend himself on the school's all-time win list with his photo towering above the court. As far as John McClendon, I may have passed him in victories, but the impact that he had on the game in terms of being a pioneer and a trailblazer. He took a lot of butt whipping, so I didn't have to go through it, end quote. McClendon coached at North Carolina Central from 1940 through 1952, winning 81% of his games and leading the school to a combined 8 CIAA titles between the regular season and conference tournaments. He ultimately left the school following the 1952 season when the administration attempted to cut athletics budget. We've heard that before. He would go on to coach at Hampton Institute. People may have forgotten. But then another legendary stop at Tennessee A&I, Kentucky State, Cleveland State as well. With pro coaching career would result in him being named a Hall of Famer twice, first as a contributor and eventually as a basketball coach. Many of us realize that Texas A&I, he won 3 championships there, first of any institution, HBCU or not, to do that feat. And so well connected there. This past weekend, Tennessee State, obviously formerly known as Tennessee A&I, had a ceremony where they honored Bennett and a couple of other players in terms of their championships, Hall of Fame, and there's a movie coming out that's going to honor and tell a story about those movies. So I'm excited about that. So a lot of connections.
Yep.
Barnett is just the bad boy when you talk about what he's able to do on multiple levels. NBA champion as well. So I wanted to kind of make that connection and tell that. Let's take our first break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll give you the women's top 10 mid-major rankings, get these guys' thoughts on that, get into an interview that we have later in the show, and we'll come back with the major division on the men and give you some other news throughout the show. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this first break.
T. Madden and Associates is a sophisticated and experienced law firm located in your neighborhood. We're turning injury to cash.
T. Madden and Associates obtained almost $2 million for my injury. They turned my injury to cash.
Now, we can't guarantee how much your injury is worth, but we've recovered millions for our clients.
Call T. Madden and Associates at 833-PAID-123. That's 833-PAID-123.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna loud and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Ville inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We're back and it's time to break it up and give you the mid-major top 5. No team dropped out this week. Some changes in the order, so check this out. Let me know your thoughts on this. Receiving votes as we get in it, since no team dropped out of this week. Receiving votes are Alabama A&M Bulldogs, went 11-13, 94 points, so they're outside receiving votes with 34 points. Then you have Bethune-Cookman, 10-13, 9-4 with 33 points. Alabama State Hornets had a pretty good weekend. They're even the record at 12-12 and 9-4 as they continue to push forward, 21 points. As I said, no team dropped out of this week, so we'll keep it moving into the top 5. Howard Bison, 11-11 on the season, 7-2. They just got edged out Alabama A&M Bulldogs that are red hot, but they remain at number 5 to stay in the top 5 this week. Should be interesting as things move forward. What will go on with the Howard Bison, the Alabama A&M Bulldogs? At number 4, you see a little bit of change here. North Carolina A&T State Aggies, 15-9, 9-4. They had a tough weekend as they've lost 2 straight games, 57 points, dropped all the way to number 2. Previously, we saw Jackson State there, so we'll see what that means for Jackson State in terms of where they are in the ranking. Let's go to number 3. Norfolk State Spartans, 19-5, 7-2, 63. Solid weekend as they continue to do things, but they remain at number 3. Bringing us to number 2, Jackson State Tigers, 15-8, 12-1. The ladies of Jackson State continue to move. They move all the way up 2 spots. They earn 2 first-place votes as they do at 74. And they come a little closer to the number 1 spot, but Morgan State Bears are 16-6, 9-0, undefeated in terms of conference play. They have 9 straight victories as they continue to roll. 6 first-place votes. 78 points, first place. So Morgan State Bears remain in the top spot in week number 6. They continue to push forward. Can they hold on? As some of the teams are jockeying as you go down the stretch, it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. With that said, I'm going to go to you, Charles, first. What are your thoughts into the poll ranking? You see Jackson State has made a move. We thought eventually it would, but they are just dominating their opponents now. They had that one blip, obviously on the road to Prairie View. Had a couple of other close games here and there. When I say close, we're talking about a margin of 10 plus. But outside of that, they beat teams 20 plus points and even had a 35 points a couple of weeks ago. So they continue to churn it out. What do you think? Thoughts on the women's top five with Jackson State moving to number 2 in a lot of ways?
I can almost make an argument for Jackson State being number 1 with both Morgan State and Jackson State both have won 9 in a row. But if you take a look at the average margin of victory with regards to Jackson State, I think the only blip on that record, of course, is that loss on the road at Prairie View. But their average margin of victory is something unbelievable when you take a look at it. And I thought that they would get a good stern test from Bethune-Cookman last night, but to no avail. And you see the same story on a Monday. Everything was shaping up perfect for a Monday. But you see the same sort of a formula for Jackson State week in, week out. They rebound you to death. They throw the ball into the post, and they work the paint. That's the big thing that you take a look with them. That is, I think, key to their wins, especially winning 9 in a row, and something to keep an eye on moving toward the tournament.
Yep. Mike, what are your thoughts? Morgan State 9 in a row, Jackson State 9 in a row. I see Howard, I told you, stays in there. They've won 5 in a row themselves. So some interesting movement around on the women's side. So I want to get your thoughts in terms of those standings there. Bethune-Cookman, they took their first loss, but they had won a couple of games there, and they sit in second place with 3 teams, along with Alabama A&M and Alabama State, all at 9 and 4 in the conference race. What are your thoughts with them being outside, with Jackson State moving up to 2, Morgan State holding down, and Norfolk, took a tumble this week after running into a headwind in the Colonial, even though they had some of those games at home. They've lost 2 straight.
Oh, how can I say this? And let me say it politely. I think CB said it nicely. He said you could make an argument. I'm defiantly saying that Jackson State should be number 1. You look at statistics, you look at what they're letting their opponents go. Their only blip, you said it yourself, Doc, was PV on the road. Since then, they've got an average margin of a victory of about 1 million. Let's say, give or take. So let's go. Let's just, for sake of argument, say that Jackson State should be. Morgan State is unbelievable this year. Don't get me wrong. I think they're a winning streak of 9. The ladies are getting it done. Their average streak, or an order of magnitude of -10 or less. For you engineers that know that, that means that if Jackson State is beating people by 1 million, give or take, that means Morgan State is beating people by maybe 10, give or take. And they're playing impressive. Please don't get this wrong. But Jackson State has just been too impressive. And then you look at all facets of the game: rebound, scoring, shooting from the arc. Jackson State is leading in all of those categories. That's also what I look at besides margin of victories. So I'm going to more emphatically say that it's those ladies from Jackson State that should be number 1. Howard, yeah, they're doing all right, but I think Jackson State right now is the clear horse that's out in front.
Good stuff by both you all. That is an interesting argument that you make when you look at Jackson State and Morgan State Bears. You don't often see a team fall out of number 1 unless they lose. But you all are making an argument just because of the margin of victory in terms of Jackson State. Obviously, in terms of the overall record, there's not a lot there. Difference there, 16-6, 15-8. In the SWAC, because there's more teams and there are more conference games being played, more of those wins are attributed to conference play, which because they're doing it in fine fashion with the discrepancy of points of margin, it allows that to stick out more. So that's interesting when you look at that in terms of just the margin error. When you look at total points, 78-74, 6 votes to 2 votes. So it's not a lot of room there. So I think you can make that statement in the argument it'll be interesting to watch this race down the stretch.
Yeah.
Right? Can Norfolk edge themselves back into the race? They continue after they took a little dip, had those losses. They're right there. Big matchup coming up. See that? North Carolina A&T playing in the Colonial. Obviously, they laid their head, but they can rebound and get a couple of wins together. It'll be interesting to see what that looks down the stretch. If these teams can close out conference play as champion, that's one component. Obviously, you go into the tournament. Can either one of these teams do daily double, if you would, win the regular season and the conference tournament to see what that looks like? So good stuff. Howard Bison with 5 in a row. I think they're being impressive. They sit at the 7-2 mark, similar to Norfolk State. So another team to keep your eyes on. And then I must say again, Alabama A&M, Alabama State, Bethune-Cookman sitting at 9-4. Can they find a way to separate from each other and maybe push a little bit up into the top 5? Yes, Straw.
Really quick question. Tougher top 3. Morgan, Norfolk, and Howard, or Jackson State, Alabama State, and Alabama A&M?
Ooh, now that's a good one.
That's a good question.
I would have to give the edge. I'm going to give the edge actually to Alabama A&M, Jackson State, Alabama State over Morgan State, North Carolina. Norfolk State and Howard, even though I have 3 of those teams in the top 5.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
Some of that is just win, you lose. So it's important for people, and I'm glad you asked that question. This poll is a week-to-week poll, so it doesn't take what you've done over the season, but as a small margin. It takes a bigger margin in terms of what you do in that week's games. And you see Alabama A&M, Alabama State, Alabama A&M coming off a loss, State winning 3, Bethune-Cookman coming out of the loss as well. So that affects you, even though their loss was to Bethune-Cookman and while they're still in receiving votes. So great points there. Let's take another break. We'll come back on the other side and give you a little bit of news for that. In fact, let's stick with it because it has some discussion and we'll take a break. So I wanted to go back in there, and I was going to take a break and come back on the other side and get into some news that I didn't give you a chance to get in earlier. But instead of taking a break, let's go straight through it. Charles, what's some news that you wanted to get out there that I didn't get a chance to ask you earlier as we were getting into this top 5? I wanted to make sure I did my poll ranking. You see how
I'm going to stick with the women. Let's take a look at the MEAC as they announced their weekly award winners presented by Coca-Cola. Howard University's junior guard Destiny Howell was selected as the MEAC Women's Basketball Player of the Week. As well as Delaware State's Savannah Brooks was named the Rookie of the Week, while Norfolk State's graduate guard Camille Downs, she earned the Defensive Player of the Week. So let's take a look real quickly at the statistics. First for Destiny Howell, the junior guard from Queens, New York, she averaged 20 points, 4 assists per game in the 2 Bisons win this past week, shooting a combined 14 of 24, 58% from the floor, 6 of 9 from behind the arc. She dropped 25 points on 8 of 14 shooting, hitting all 4 of her threes against Maryland Eastern Shore this past Monday. And on Saturday, she had 15 points and 6 assists, going 6 of 10 from the floor against Delaware State. When we take a look at Miss Brooks, Savannah Brooks, she averaged 13.5 points and 3 steals in 2 games for the Hornets. She opened with 17 points and 4 steals against Howard before adding 10 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 steals against Norfolk State. For the week, she was combined 14 for 16 from the free throw line. And Defensive Player of the Week, Camille Downs, 5 steals per game for the Spartans in a pair of wins this past week. She opened with 6 steals, Dr. Cavil, against Maryland Eastern Shore, tying her season high before adding 4 more in Monday's win over Delaware State.
She was giving somebody fits out there, man. She was going straight to the bank.
Yeah.
Mike, what's on your mind? What's some news out there that has you excited in the HBCU world?
Well, since he took the women, I guess I'll take the MEAC men. North Carolina Central redshirt senior forward Chris Monroe and Delaware State senior guard Okoye Parker have been named MEAC men's basketball players of the week. Howard University Shai Odom was named Rookie of the Week, and North Carolina Central graduate center Brendan Medley Bacan was announced as Defensive Player of the Year. Now, Monroe basically averaged a double-double as the Eagles went 2-0 against MEAC foes for the week. The Eagles had a pretty good week, going 19.5 points, 12.5 rebounds, in a contest while shooting 13 of 27, which is just under 50% from the floor. So he had a career high 25 points, 16 rebounds against Coppin State after turning in a 14.9 rebound effort against Morgan State. Parker, 6'5" senior guard, averaged 19.7 points a contest, shot a combined 11 for 16 from 3-point range. I'll say it again, 11 for 16 from 3-point range in 3 games for the Hornets. His best game against Howard, where Parker tied his career high with 24 points, hitting 5 of 6 from beyond the arc. He also had 19 points on 4 made threes against Norfolk State. In a midweek win over Chicago State, Parker had 16 points, and for the week he has combined 20 of 33, so basically 2/3 or 61% from the floor. Odom averaged 12 and a half, 6 rebounds a contest. Sorry, as Howard went for 13 points, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 assists against Delaware State. Before adding 12 points, 7 rebounds and 3 points against Maryland Eastern Shore, a game in which he went 5 for 9 from the floor. So those are your MEAC Men's Players of the Week. Nice job, fellas.
Good stuff there. Before we get into it, as we're working through it, I did want to announce the SWAC announcers predicted order of finish and preseason selections. This will run right into this next interview that I hope we're lining up. SWAC announced 2023 SWAC baseball predicted order of finish along with its preseason teams and individual award selection. On Friday afternoon, the predicted order of finish preseason teams and individual award were voted upon by the league's head coaches and sports information director. Alabama State was picked to finish first place in the SWAC Eastern Division. The Hornets tallied 8 first-place points and 103 total points, Bethune-Cookman second, Florida A&M third, Jackson State fourth, Alabama A&M fifth, and Mississippi Valley State sixth round out the list for the SWAC East preseason. Southern was tabbed to finish first place in the SWAC Western Division. The Jaguars amassed 11 first-place votes, 109 total points. Grambling State second, Prairie View third, Texas Southern fourth, Arkansas Pine fifth, and Alcorn State Braves sixth. Alcorn State Braves, I should say, sixth. Highlight the SWAC West preseason selections. Alabama State Corey King was named preseason player of the year, while Florida A&M's Hunter Bites was tabbed preseason pitcher of the year. With that being said, we're going to take this quick break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll get a chance maybe to discuss a little bit of this as we look at it, and then we'll get into the second half part of the show. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this break.
Your ad could be ran here. MyJBN.com/support. MyJBN.com/support for more information.
The new GMC Sierra with hands-free driving offers the most advanced and luxurious pickup in its class. Yeah, it rocks.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
It's like a loot machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Coming back, Dr. Cavil's inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, and we have Coach Omar Johnson of Jackson State University. Wanted to give y'all, we just did the predicted order finish, so we wanted to get into some of the baseball talk. It's just that kind of weather. You start to see a little more light in the morning. Must be some good time for baseball. And then you got Cactus Jack HBCU baseball classic coming up. So just wanted to say, Coach, how you doing today? Coach, you hear us? We can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Welcome to the show, Coach. Excited. We just saying that things look like it's that time of the year. How you feeling? We can't hear you now. Went back out.
Yeah, we lost you on the Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. I can hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me now? Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry. All right.
So just saying, how's it going? How you doing? I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I think what's happening is the Bluetooth is going in and out.
Yeah, you might have to come off your Bluetooth, Coach.
Hey, Dr. Cavil, let's take a break while Coach gets
Yeah,
his
let's
audio.
take a break and come back on the other side. How's it going, Coach? Yeah, we're going to take a break and bring it back and see if we can get some of these technical issues out. Go ahead and take a quick break as we go back, and we'll be right back after this quick break.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Brian, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Don't worry, Ma. We'll be there soon.
We? Is this the one?
Well, let's say I found the one who takes me to another level. Always stays calm under pressure. Most importantly, the one that helps me discover the coolest places.
This sounds wonderful.
Come outside, I'll introduce you.
They're here.
Definitely the one.
Introducing the all-new Nissan Frontier.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplify Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplify Development Services.
T. Madden and Associates is a sophisticated and experienced law firm located in your neighborhood. We're turning injury to cash.
T. Madden and Associates obtained almost $2 million for my injury. They turned my injury to cash.
Now, we can't guarantee how much your injury is worth, but we've recovered millions for our clients.
Call T. Madden and Associates at 833-PAID-123. That's 833-PAID-123.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside HBCU Sports Lab. We're back with Jackson State University head men's baseball coach, Coach Omar Johnson. How's it going today?
It's going great. It's going great. We're getting excited about the start of the season.
Yeah, we're excited about it too. Obviously, you kicked things off in the Cactus Jack Classic down here. So let's just jump into that and talk about what are your thoughts of playing in a classic such as that?
Well, it's our kids are very excited getting an opportunity to play on the major league field. But the Houston Astros, Cactus Jack, they're rolling the red carpet out. They're doing everything. So we're excited to have an opportunity to play, in the event like this. We played in a couple of preseason events in years past, but I don't think they've put the effort that the Houston Astros and Cactus Jack's putting into this.
I appreciate you sharing that perspective. Charles, go ahead and follow up with a question.
Yeah, Coach, I wanted to ask this question, especially in regards to this recruiting footprint that you take a look at with Texas. Of course, Florida, huge recruiting base for Jackson State. But when you take a look at being on this national stage, this Cactus Jack Classic being on the MLB Network, what does it do with regards to the recruiting footprint of Jackson State baseball?
Well, if you look at our roster, for the last 15, 17 years, we get kids from all over the place. We've had our share of Texas kids. We have no issues of getting kids coast to coast, international, Caribbean. That's one of the ways we've made it work here at Jackson State. I've been able to identify some talent and bring some guys here to Mississippi, and they fit into our culture and our environment, and we made the most of it.
Coach, I have kept my eyes on you, and I've seen you recruiting, like you said, not just national, literally coast to coast, but international. And then now you're talking about even coming back into Texas. I'm getting a little nervous, Coach. I just want to let you know.
Yeah.
We have a couple kids on our team from Texas now, Caraway, Dalen Caraway. Dalen Caraway is from right around that way. We have I think a kid from Sugar Land, Jaden Bauer. So
Jaden Bauer, I heard of, yeah.
Yeah, so we have some kids. We get around a little bit, we try to get out there.
Coach, you got to rub it in. We see you working. Go ahead.
Hey, Coach, this is Big Mike here. I am from the People's Republic of Texas. Just want to let you know that. Appreciate, big fan of yours. And obviously recruiting is part of your pedigree. Let me take a deeper dive at your recruiting efforts in the SWAC. We know that pitching prowess and pitching depth is very important. What do you look for when you go out and you recruit young pitchers? Because we get into these tournaments and you got to have the number of arms in the bench, pitching the right stuff. What do you look for when you go out and look for these pitchers, whether it be Texas, Florida, or wherever?
Well, it's first of all, obviously everything kind of starts with a little velo, but we more so side with guys that can man the ball. If they can throw multiple pitches for a strike, that always helps. Our pitch philosophy, we have always, taught our guys to pitch backwards, basically throwing breaking pitches and fastball counts. So I was just having some pitching meetings right before we all got started. And I have an old saying that a lot of the times that I've gotten more out of 86 than I got out of 96, so it's just adapting what we do to some of the athletes' ability level that we bring in. So, you have to, that's part of coaching, being able to get the most out of the kid that you actually have. But we've been fortunate to recruit some guys that can really pitch, and that gives us opportunity to win games. But pitching, it all starts with pitching. If you can pitch a little bit, you catch it a little bit, you'll have a chance to win a game. Pitching and defense is everything.
Coach, what is it like? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Doc.
No, go, Chuck.
Well, I want to ask, what is it like playing in this SWAC East? I mean, you have Florida A&M, you have Bethune-Cookman, you have yourself, you have Alabama State, obviously, but week in, week out, it is a dogfight in this SWAC East. But like, what does Jackson State have to do to, make sure that they are in the upper echelon of fighting it out in this very, very difficult side of, well, we say SWAC East, but of course, looking at playing those teams over there or over there on the SWAC East side of the ball.
Yeah, our division, our division is really competitive, really competitive. The biggest thing for us is to be healthy. I think we have the ability to compete with anyone. It's just a matter of health. That was kind of our deal from last year. We had a bunch of injuries at a very short period of time, but we found a way to turn it around the second half of the season. I think the second half of the season we went 16-5. You know what I mean? So, it's just once you figure out the group of guys that you have and then kind of finding a way to help them be successful, that's kind of how it goes. But that our division is really competitive, and you can't take away Alabama A&M and Mississippi Valley. They're all both going to be better this year.
Right.
So the whole division is going to be really competitive. I think Mississippi Valley had 2 kids that was all conference. So it's going to be really competitive.
Sure thing.
Follow up on that. In this classic, is kind of unique because not only do you get to play a rival in Mississippi Valley State in terms of the matchup, but you get to play some of the teams in the West. Obviously, you have the rival with Southern, so you play them midweek in Saturday games, not in terms of what you call your division. Is that something that is beneficial to be able to play teams in the West in this format, or is the season just so long by the time you get back to tournament time? Would it not make that much of a difference?
It is beneficial to play the teams in our league. Definitely, if the teams that you have an opportunity to play in a tournament, without a doubt. But we're so centrally located. We're right in the middle of everything, so it's easy for us to get to just about everybody. I think we don't really play Southern midweek, but we normally play Grambling midweek. 2.5 hours from here, and then same with Pine Bluff. So we're really fortunate with that, and we play a series with Alcorn, which we try to keep the rivalry going with that because they're basically an hour and a half away. You know what I mean? So no, it is very beneficial. It's very beneficial for us to play, and then it's a lot of tradition. And I've been around, the conference a lot longer than most, so I appreciate the traditions, and I want to stay true to the traditions. So
I appreciate that you sharing that. Last question before we get out of here. I know you got a very busy schedule, but I'd be remiss if we can get into some of key players that we need to keep our eyes on, not just this weekend, but throughout the season. Obviously, in terms of preseason selections, you have your first baseman, Jalen Williams, also as well as outfielder Jatavius Melton. What about those players that make them special, and any other players that we need to keep our eyes on that we need to watch out for this rest of the season?
Jalen batted about .330 last year, and he was a big part of us turning it around that second half because he matured a little bit. He didn't play a lot as a freshman, so he was a sophomore, and he had to mature really fast. Jatavius has been a starter since he came on campus. He's a real special kid. He's a 6'5" runner with above average arm that can steal 30-40 bases easy. And then he's a guy that can really swing the bat. So we're excited about having him. And then Ty Hill. Ty was the conference player of the year, and he was everything that 1 year. Player of the year, hitter of the year, newcomer of the year. So
he was,
having
well
him,
deserved.
Yeah, well deserved. Now he's a machine. So we're fortunate to have him to be able to contribute and help everybody else get a little better.
Coach, beyond the wins,
I'd be remiss if I didn't give you the last word to kind of share any final thought with us. And I do want to remind you, next time you go on these recruiting in and out trips, especially the Caribbean, just let me know. I can get out there and help. Make sure you carry your bags, whatever it needs to go down there, and make sure you get some players and bring them back.
Well, I'm really fortunate that I do have a lot of contacts in the Caribbean. And we'll be in Puerto Rico in June, Bahamas in June, and I think Curacao in July. So you're welcome to come. They're all great places.
That's good. See, Charles,
people open themselves
All I
up.
had to do was ask.
All you have to do is ask. Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Seriously, any last thoughts that you want to share with us?
I appreciate you guys having me and giving recognition to our program and the I love.
I love it. Perfectly said to close it out.
Love
That's
it.
your head baseball coach, Jackson State University, Omar Johnson. Thanks for giving us the time. And we'll be putting some of these coaches in and out throughout the season. Make sure we give some appropriate love to SWAC baseball. It's affinity for us, so we'll keep it up. Keep doing the great work you've done as a championship coach of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Thank you, Coach. We'll be right back
Coach.
after this break.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
It's like a loop machine.
People think unusual circumstances means complicated taxes. But for a TurboTax Live expert like me, it just makes things interesting. So, give us everything you've got.
What if I'm a professional gamer with a ton of expenses?
If they help drive views, let's talk deductions.
What if I'm in a state with no income tax, but my survival videos are viewed in 38 countries?
I can help. And if this is a business dinner, save those jerky receipts. An interesting life can mean an even greater refund. You do your thing. We've got your taxes. Intuit TurboTax Live.
Verizon just gave us all a brand new iPhone 13.
We've been customers for years. I thought new phones were for new customers. We got iPhone 13s too, switched to Verizon 2 minutes ago.
Ours were busted, and we still got a shiny new one.
Check it out. So wait, everybody gets the same great deal.
I think that's the point.
iPhone 13 on us for every customer. Current, new, everyone. On any unlimited plan, starting at just $35. All on the network more people rely on.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Time to get into back to basketball, closing out the season. So we got a little more as we head towards March Madness and those that want to put on their dancing shoes before we put on those cleats to get through the dirt out there in the infield and outfield of baseball stadiums. Let's make sure we get it on hardwood with these, you got all these sneakerheads out here as you know it. So let's get into this top 5 major divisions. I'm excited about this. We got to change at the top. I'll tell you ahead of time, we have a change at the top. So stick with me because I want to see what your thoughts are in terms of the top 5. Receiving votes this week. In week number 6, Maryland Eastern Shore Hawks. Ooh. Yes, they're receiving votes. So that means they fall all out of the top 5. They were previous number 1. They lost 2 straight games, tough games, and they were for teams that were in the rankings. So that made it really hard in terms of them. They stumble all the way out. But they have the top votes in terms of the teams out. So they're just outside. So they drop out and they receive votes at 45. North Carolina Central Eagles, 12-11, 5-4. We talked about Coach in terms of what he was able to get done with 31 points. He finds himself receiving votes and back in the race. Southern Jaguars sit at 13-3, 9-4. This is another team that was at the top of the poll, and they've taken a tough couple of weeks this week, and including a tough big loss where the ending score is a lot closer than that game was going down the stretch, where they fell to 20 points in that matchup before they got it into at least a striking distance, but they could not get it done. So let's get into the top 5. We have a new team in the ranking, as you see. At number 5, we'll bring it to you. That new team jumps in. That's Grambling State Tigers. They are playing some good basketball, sit at 17-8, 10-3. One first place vote. They were not ranked last weekend, but they are getting it done, playing some good basketball of late. They have a big matchup this week as they go to the All-Star and play their rival. The Bayou Classic is moving to Utah in terms of the NBA All-Star game. They jump into number 5. Big wins this weekend as they continue to get it done. They've won 4 straight games in terms of what they've been able to do, 10-13, sitting in second place alone in the conference. Bringing it to number 4, Tennessee State Tigers move up a spot from number 5. They had a big weekend in terms of what they need to get done, and wow, they have gotten off the carpet. They had a huge weekend where they took 2 teams that were above them in the race, including Southeastern Missouri State, who now they are tied with. You have 5 teams sitting 8-6 in the OVC that essentially tied all for second place behind Morehead State Eagles 10-4. Not to speak about them, but they play them coming up this week. So shout out to Tennessee State as they got it done on Saturday. Prayers to the young man in the incident that fell to the court in that matchup this past weekend. Good to hear that he is okay and back out after what took place there. They call it game. Tennessee State won 67-53 against Tennessee Tech. And then, as I said, they beat Southeast Missouri 85-65 and really pounded those, took advantage of being at home. 5 straight games by Tennessee State, bringing us to number 3. Alcorn State Braves, you talking about they are living right. They are extremely talented, but you talking about a team that you just cannot get rid of, and you cannot play there at number 3 at 14-11, 11-2. They have 1 first place vote, 85 points. They move up a spot. They literally scored a dunk with no time on the clock against Bethune-Cookman after trailing by 5 or less than a minute left. They did that at Prairie View. They do it all the time, it seems like, and they're able to get it done. FAMU was tied with a little under 2 minutes left in that game, and they have a couple of steals to get it done in that matchup. Alcorn State Braves are talented, living right, but they're number 3. At number 2, you have Norfolk State Spartans sitting 18-7, 7-2. I remember when they had those 2 losses a couple of weeks ago, everybody wanted to close the door and put the dirt on them. Coach said, no, not yet. That's not what we do around these sports. And he's sitting in second place. And that rematch with Howard is coming up. They sit at 7-2. They've won 5 straight games, and they move up a spot with 3 votes to number 2 at 99 points. New number 1 this week, moving up a spot. People are looking for it. Can you believe it? Howard Bison, after tying for the football regular season, didn't get the head-to-head tiebreaker. Now they're in the hunt. First time in 30-plus years for a MEAC basketball championship. Can they hold on to it? 16-10, 8-1, 5 first-place votes, 112 points, moving up from number 2. They've won 8 straight games. They have the longest winning streak of the HBCU men major division programs, and that is your top 5 this week. Mike, I'm going to go to you because I want Charles to sit on that because he is just stunned and surprised in multiple ways. So I'm going to go to you first and make him think about what he might say because we're near the show and I don't want to cut his mic before time is needed.
Okay. All right. So let me start by saying, I'm coming back in. Tennessee State is the big surprise to me.
Yeah.
What do you have? You have number 3, they got a 5-game win, but I think 3 of those wins are teams with 8-6 in the division, 8-6 records in the division. Impressive.
One of the reasons they got 8-6 because they pushed them losses on.
So, but that's impressive. The one team that's above them is also 8-6, and then Morehead State is 10-4. They're kind of running away. That's impressive. So you could make an argument that they're up a little bit. I don't know what the hell they're serving in the water at Alcorn State, but like you said, they living right, they praying right,
they living so right.
They eating right, they running right, they doing everything. They singing praises right. They're 11-2. So I really can't say anything about the poll other than you could argue that Tennessee State, where they are and what they're doing, you could argue that they're up a little bit higher in the poll.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. I appreciate your thoughts, and it makes some sense. But I'm gonna go to Charles and see what Charles has to say. Maryland jumped out of the poll. They went the number one for 2 weeks and couldn't live up to the hype. They lost tough matchups this past weekend. And let me just get this to them so people realize Norfolk State went on the road and beat Maryland Eastern Shore Hawks 76-73. Close matchup. Then on Monday, Maryland Eastern Shore lose to Howard. Howard beat him up, and it was in Howard, Washington, D.C., 78-69. Great point there, Mike. So, Charles, what do you say?
So the question there, Dr. Ville, is in the history of Dr. Ville's basketball polls, has a team ever gone from one to completely out the ranking? I've never seen that. Wow.
No.
So that caught me off guard. Yeah, that caught me off guard.
I think when we used to do 10, to your point, when we used to do 10, I think you have had some teams that dropped from 1 to like 6 or 7, but they weren't out the poll because at the time we were doing 10. But I hadn't seen a weekend that I can recall, obviously in short memory, we've been doing this for 20 years, where a team that was sitting in first place had such a devastating weekend where they lost 2. I've seen times where over 2 weeks period, you get a team that loses 2 games, sometimes back to back, that Monday and then Saturday split, but not in the same weekend that we do the poll. Great question.
Yeah, that caught me off guard. Kudos to Tennessee State for the way they've been playing basketball right now. Kudos to Landon Bussey. Now, I know this is one of those inbound plays that drives coaches crazy, but to run that delayed action in, run somebody to the rim.
It was beautiful.
It was beautifully drawn up. I got to give him credit on that. They caught Bethune-Cookman sleeping, napping on that, and Alcorn was able to get out of Daytona with the win. So, like you said, the air is cleaner, the water is better down there on the reservation. It's just they living right. They're doing things the right way down there. Kudos to Howard, 8 in a row. Finally, Puffy, Felicia Rashad, everybody, they can stick their chest out a little bit more this week because they are number one in Dr. Ville's poll. So shout out to the Howard Bison.
Yeah,
man, good points. You talk about Alcorn. I got to share this. They won the 5 straight, obviously, but look at this. They were on the road to Grambling. They won 63-60. They followed that up and host Arkansas Pine Bluff won 70-67. They clashed with their rival, Mississippi Valley State, at home, 81-70. Biggest margin there, but that was close until late. Then they go on the road to Bethune-Cookman, the one we're talking about with the little with no time remaining, 76-74. That was after trailing by 5 now, late in that game. Then they go to Tallahassee and they win 67-64. So again, they're living right, playing good basketball. But kudos to the Braves because that's what a championship team does. They found a way to win, and you can't count them out. So it's going to be fascinating to see what these races, both in the MEAC and SWAC, going down the stretch. And now that we have Tennessee State essentially back in the race in the OVC, now we have an independent program to keep our eyes on as well. So I'm fascinated to see what this looks like. Obviously, we'll get a chance and see over the weekend, next week, as Sports Wrap, Brian and AD come back as they took off for the Super Bowl rooting interest, making sure they watched some home ties, Kansas City, I believe. So shout out to AD Drew in terms of being able to celebrate in style, as well as the fact that HBCU players that were associated with that. Make sure next weekend, your Saturday contest is Alcorn State at Jackson State. Doubleheader, big-time rivalry. 12:30, 3 o'clock. Both teams are playing pretty well in terms of Jackson State, in terms of that last win that they had over Bethune-Cookman. They really put it on them, 91-64. They beat FAMU 69-58. So one of the issues you used to have with Jackson State is talking about their inability to score. Well, it looks like they're doing that right now. So I'm fascinated to see what that looks like. They've won 3 straight games, so they're at 8-5, a couple of games back, 3 to be exact. So that's your Saturday game, 12:30, 3 o'clock. Obviously, we get a chance to see the Jackson State women as they continue just to make a statement. On that Monday, you go to Prairie View, doubleheader, 5:30 and 8 o'clock. Mississippi Valley State at Prairie View. Unique thing right now. Texas Southern, that was picked to win the conference, they would be on the outside looking in. Prairie View, also with them at 5 and 8. Bethune-Cookman, tiebreakers will make a little difference there, obviously, in terms of Texas Southern able to beat Bethune-Cookman, so that might help them there. Prairie View is really looking on the outside. They've lost between Alabama State and on the road that are ahead of them. They lost to Bethune-Cookman. So they're sitting at 5 and 8. So it'll be fascinating to see, can these teams put a couple of wins together to get it done. Big win by Texas Southern over Southern yesterday. It gives them a chance, and maybe they're feeling better about themselves. Let's call it a day for that. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. Howard Bison. It's going to be interesting to see what my Bison friend out there. They don't know how to act when they get some wins and some rankings. You talking about the Mecca? They gonna let you know everything right now. So we'll see how.
I don't know if they've earned that name, the Mecca yet.
I hadn't seen these folks look at the poll in years. All of a sudden they're like, "Phil, isn't your poll coming out this weekend? Where the Bison gonna be?" I say, tune in. Shout out.
They'll show up. If Howard shows up in the championship, they'll show up, and it'll be a fashion show. So they'll show up then, but they don't look at stats.
Thank you, folks, for love. They keep winning right now. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Watson, Charles Bishop. Appreciate you showing up. Again, happy Valentine's to all the folks out there, especially the ladies. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson, Charles Bishop, every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. We'll be back on Thursday, give you an update with the mid-majors, see if we get you some more baseball news and interviews up here, and give you some more information about Cactus Jack. I'm excited about what that game will look like. Stay tuned. We'll let you know if we'll be able to do some show from out there live. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to keep up with that type of information. That's Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. That's DrKenyattaCavil. Make sure you download my JVN, my BCSN. We're still doing a 25th anniversary. Go check it out. Support us on that. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube is Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course.
Mike?
Lecture.
Dismiss. Hey, Mike, say one of them Portuguese words again for us. Tell us goodbye.
Boa noite, mi amigos.
Mic drop.